So this is what ADD and anxiety looks like without medication or drugs. That's why I'm here, by the way, drugs. Okay, so I'm Mike. I'm an addict. I've been clean since July 29th, 2022. I was on Chat GPT like 20 times in 2 months, right? And I had all these like pages that they had written out for me. I was like, oh, that's good stuff. And then today I was like, fuck, I don't like being told what to do. So I tossed all that aside. But I have a pretty good idea. So I grew up in Fresno, California, somewhere between the desert and the ocean. I got into sports, church a little bit, positive activities. I had a pretty good, I had a really good mom and I had a stepdad. So from my mom, I learned all the things that you're supposed to learn in life about being, human. And from my stepdad, I learned work really hard, get your money, make sure your bills are paid, and keep the house going. That was where that came from. So what did I do? I was a normal kid. I used to throw rocks at the side of the Target, right? And one day I hit it and it fell onto a truck. So I did shit like that. Like I was a normal kid, right? Just a little different than the other kids. Because they were always the ones like, hey, we should do this. And I'm like, I'll do it, right? I'll do it. And that's the mentality that I had growing up that led me into my addiction. Was everybody was always like, oh, we should get drunk. And I'm like, I'll do it first, Oh, we should get in a fight. No, I can show me the biggest guy. Like, I'm getting knocked out tonight. I don't care. Let's try weed. Oh, okay, I'll get it. I know where to get it, And things were okay at that point in a sense. Like I had, I was still functioning. I was in school, kind of finding out like what I liked and didn't like with drugs and stuff. But I didn't see anywhere near how bad it was going to be down the path for me, I guess. So I partied in high school. I got some weed one day. We were waiting on the bus, and I had all my friends, and they were always down to like whatever I do, they're gonna do type friends. Except that I traded a bunch of weed for acid one day, and this was my first experience with like, oh shit, right? So I took a hit of acid, and I didn't feel anything, because I'm that guy. Look, I need more. So I took another one, and I tried to give it to my friends, and they're like, I don't want it. And I'm like, come on, dude, take it. And they're like, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want it. So it was in foil, and I put it in a nice little square, and I put it in my sock. Clinically insane that day. It was 11 hits of acid, my first time. Didn't know I had a problem yet. A lot of doors opened. Some were real, some weren't at that point in time. But I discovered that I did like something more than weed because I have ADD. And anything that makes me like calm and I'm trying so hard to like pace because I'm not on my meds. That's good though. Okay, so anything that brought me down, I didn't like, because I like to go. That was how the only way I knew how to survive. Like all the sports I played, you had to be fast. In and out of relationships, go, like get her done, Life, I made, all my decisions were based on go, fast. And I got to, I fucking graduated high school at some point. It was 97, right? So it must have been like 98. I traded in all the previous drugs for my drug of choice. And it was go fast. And I really liked it. And that yet had not been a sign that I was going to be an addict at that point. A lot of dumb shit chalked up to being a kid, And so I decided, I really like this stuff. Where can I get more? I thought the military. They're famous for giving out drugs to the people, right? So I decided that I was going to join the military, but I had this girlfriend, and she was the one, and fell in love. And so I went, I did all the military testing, I got whatever job I was supposed to be that they decide for you. And then I told her that I was going to have to go and be gone for a while. And she was like, well, okay. And I was like, oh, okay, that's not what I expected to hear. But I thought, well, I'm going to stick around anyway because I wanted to go to college in Fresno, and I wanted to. I was pretty good at sports. I had a couple opportunities that I could have advanced in, and so I called the recruiter the day before I was going to leave, and I was like, hey, my doctor said I had bad knees and asthma, and he was like, so you don't want to go? And I was like, no, because I was still 17, so I had that time that I could make a decision. And I made that decision to back out, and I found myself living downtown Fresno. I had a roommate that I had graduated with high school with. We had a really, really nice apartment. When you open the door, there was it was like a hotel outside, So you open your door, and there would be like prostitutes, like right there, and then drug dealers, and then people passed out like in the walkway. And this is where I was thinking, like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. My family had moved here. My mom moved here with my brother, sister, and stepdad. He was from here, and he was like Grand Forks, like to the core. He's like, well, you should come here. There was a flood, and I'm like, well, I'm not stupid. I can see the news, He's like, but there's a lot of work, and I was like, all right. So I made a call to a buddy who was not really a buddy, but he gave me a duffel bag to drop off to somebody, and he said, I'll see you in the morning. I said, you sure will. And so I took the duffel bag with me, and I jumped on a Greyhound, and then I hitchhiked part of the way here. And I had some spending money when I got here, needless to say. I didn't go back to that guy and make an amends. I probably won't. But I figured out at that point, like, this was going to be life for me. It was going to be ripping people off, getting jobs that I really don't like, but at least they pay the rent sometimes, if I pay the rent. Shit like that. So I had traded in my life at this point for a lot of unknowns, but I was here. I made it, So I was here, I think, less than 6 months. I picked up a felony and 4 misdemeanors, and I got some probation. And then I decided I didn't like probation because, again, they're telling you what to do. So I said, just send me. So I went to prison, and then I got out. And at that point, I thought, okay, that was, I got it. Like, I can do this. So I got my first sponsor in Grand Forks, and he was a big dude. I was like 140 pounds, like just. I'm all about it. So I walk in. It's my first meeting. The judge had told me, like, you got a problem. You need to go to AA. And I was like, well, I don't even drink that much. So, I'll show you. So I'll go get the little slip sign and whatnot. So the first meeting, he walks up and he says, are you new? And I said, yeah. Yeah, I'm new, because I was terrified. And he said, there's 2 things you need to know. 1, shut up and learn. And 2, I'm your sponsor. And I was like, that's 3. So I already had a problem with this guy, telling me, like, hey, this is how it's going to be. It worked out for about, like, 4 months. And then I decided I didn't want to do steps. I didn't want to call a sponsor. And that was important. That was an important lesson to learn. Because I remember when they said pick your sponsors, there was like this long list of different people would tell you, look for the guy that has the most success, or the guy that has the things that you want. The guy that you want to be like. And I did some of those things. I found some of those guys, and some of them, they didn't stay in the program because they graduated, apparently. And, some of them relapsed, whatever. But it was a lesson. Like, I needed to know, for me to succeed in recovery, I had to know what I liked and didn't like. And I had not reached that point yet, and this was at 21 years old. So I said, fuck it. I went back on probation violation stuff and did another vacation. I spent 2 more years in prison. And, the second time in, I paid a little more attention. I got a job in the treatment department, so I had access to, like, all the videos and audio shit you can imagine, like self-help, like I was a guru. And I spent most of my time thinking that, it was going to be different when I got out. And it was, in a lot of ways, it was different. I stayed out longer. I got off probation eventually. I think I got off probation the first time in 2014. And the part where I started to see that I was really, really an addict was even after all that stuff. I stayed off probation until 2022. So quite a while, I made it, and I thought there was no way I was ever going to get in trouble again. And the only reason that I got in trouble is because I decided to do drugs again, and I had been using on and off over the years, like even on probation or whatever, and but it didn't really matter. Like I didn't see a problem. So I got put back on probation. I did what I thought was my drug of choice, and it wasn't. And I was hallucinating for 9 days. Wrecked our car out in the field. It was crazy. I don't talk about it yet because I'm not quite there yet, not over there yet. But I lost everything again. And then forgot. Okay, so I lost everything again, and ended up going to Prairie because I could see like it wasn't. I was 2 years clean when I came to Grand Forks, and no, yeah, 2 years. So I went to Prairie and Fargo, and I knew that my mental health wasn't right. It wasn't the drugs anymore, and that's when I could see that that was what made me an addict. Because it wasn't just the drugs, because I could stop those at any time, which I did. And at 2 years clean, though, I was like, something is not right. So I did. I checked myself in, spent some time in Prairie, and then I got out, and I met somebody that was like, I have, this was her pickup line, it was slick. She said, I have a 2-bedroom apartment, you could rent a room for me. And I was like, oh yeah, because I wanted to leave Fargo, I wanted a fresh start, I wanted to get away. Which was, part of my addiction also in life was the escape. And, I thought this would be a positive escape, and it has been. But it definitely, it turned into a relationship. But it was good because I needed to see, like, I can be clean, I can be in non-toxic relationships. That was a huge thing. I could settle down, and I didn't have to have that crutch to, like, make it okay. So I've gone through basically, like, most of my life was not knowing anything about me, and that's where having those things, come into play later. Like realizing, like, I don't know what I like. I don't know if I'm a good person even. I don't know if I'm human half the time because I'm so, I'm so robotic and out there. I can't even, like, explain, what type of things I want to see in myself in order for me to be who I want to be. And I have a different sponsor, an older one, or one after the other one. This is the sponsor thing. Okay, so the next one, after a few that I wasn't really trying to work with, I figured out that having a sponsor that was my friend first, it's really difficult, because they're going to tell you all the things that you want to hear, and they might tell you what you don't want to hear, but they're going to sugarcoat it, because I'm a baby, He pointed out I'm sensitive, and I was like, fuck you. And then I went and cried about it because I'm not sensitive. I tried to have him as my sponsor for like probably 5 years on and off. And we fired each other so many times. Like there was one time he was in my face and it was in front of like, he did like group studies all at the same time, like step groups. So there was random step shit going on. But I hadn't been to that many yet. And he's like, here, Mike, why don't you tell blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, the fuck, bro? Like, I don't even know these people. And you want me to tell my whole story? And so he's in my face and he's like, you're so angry, you're seething. And I was like, look, Darth, back up. Like, I'm just trying to learn some stuff, not be too active in this part of it right now. And but so we ended up, he's a dear friend. He's like a dad to me. But it was important to learn too that my sponsor has to be someone that I've listened to talk and I find a connection. It doesn't have to be, they have the kind of car I want when I'm all at the top. They don't have to have the job. They don't have to have the life, whatever. I also learned that to find the sponsor that works for me, it's not about what they have or what they're saying. It's the feeling behind it, like the level of intensity. Because I'm pretty intense sometimes. Like, so I need somebody that can be able to match that and to know, like, when I'm telling my shit to them. And I'm like seconds away from exploding, that at the same time as they can be like, okay, you don't have to explode. It's okay. They could be like, no, get up, start over, do what you got to do, whatever, And so I asked Chris to be my sponsor one night. I'd heard him talking. I was digging it. And he said, yeah. And the only thing I was hoping for was he's not one of the sponsors that every morning, hey, good morning. What are you grateful for today? And sure as shit. So the first couple of days I got him, he'd message, and I was like, fuck, man, here we go. But I needed that at the same time because everything in my recovery in the past, it didn't work because I always did the same things. You know what I mean? So like I knew that if I didn't take advantage of having a sponsor that is going to ask me shit that I don't want to talk about, like, it's not going to matter. It's not going to work, So I'll be like, oh, I'm grateful for my dog, grateful for my, whatever. And I needed to be able to do that because that's a part for me, that change, that growth, that has to happen. Like everything had to be different, like someone else was saying. And it was different, you know, and it's the biggest part, I think, in my recovery this time, allowing me to be successful, is I don't have the sponsor telling me what to do. I don't have the sponsor babying me. And I have a sponsor, you know, that I've come to know and respect, and I can relate to. And he gives me suggestions, which is cool, because like stop signs, they're just suggestions, right? You don't have to do it. But it can be expensive if you don't stop at those stop signs, you know. There's times where even in my best of days, when I'm like the most sane and mentally stable, I'll say some weird shit to people, you know, and it's just because my brain is just ADD, you know, and it'll, you know, I can say stuff to my sponsor, you know. I also have friends that I can say the same shit to, and they'll be like, "Fuck, dude, I don't know," you know. But you need somebody, you know. I need somebody in my life like that I know they can take what I say with a grain of salt and give me the direction that I need, you know, because that was a big part of my whole recovery that I was missing was direction and purpose. You know, I had all the tools, I stored them all up. I knew everything that you got to say when you got to say it, and I stayed clean for years, just going to meetings. I stayed clean for years. Having a sponsor, but it was just hanging out, you know. I always loved it when we're like, hey, you want to go get some coffee and do some steps? I'm like, yeah. And I go get some coffee, and then I just go off on my own shit, you know, and they just sit there like, what do you do? You know, what do you do? You know, and Chris will be like, you want to go do steps? And I'm like, I don't really have, okay, so I like to make excuses for why I can't do shit, right? Okay, so you guys asked me, not all of you, but some of you asked me like 2 months ago, like, hey, you want to speak in November? And I'm like, or October? What is it, October? And I'm like, yeah. I thought, what would my sponsor suggest? You know? And so at that point, like, I've been picking up. He's like one of those guys, like, if he says he's going to do something, he does it. So I'm like, all right, let's do it. He'd probably tell me to do it anyway. Fuck, instantly, right? From that day, that minute, I've been thinking of excuses why I could not make it to do this. And so even like as much as today, okay, so I have an appointment tomorrow to get injections in my knees because my knees are bad, right? So that was going to be my fucking excuse. I can't stand up for a half hour because I just got steroids in my knees. It's tomorrow. So I didn't have any excuses, and I was so grateful. Like, I was here one time for a birthday, and like it was filled with people. I was like, no. And I walked in, I was like, ooh, half is okay. I can do half, you know. And then when I get really nervous, I just take off my glasses, and there's like 4 people here. So I haven't had to do that yet. So hopefully it's okay. It's been a journey. The biggest point, I guess, is if you're new, get a sponsor and do the steps. Like, where'd he go? I said he was going to cry all night. Where'd he go? The other guy? Fuck, he's not in here. All right, so I was like, if anybody's going to cry, he's going to cry because he looked tougher than me. But he's not going to cry. So I do the steps if you want to see what changes in your life. And I don't think I have anything else.